I was doing research for a script on the best credit cards when a thought came to me. Why do these credit card companies want people with good credit scores? A high credit score indicates your likelihood to pay back your debt and to do so on time, but I thought that credit card companies made most of their money off of people carrying a balance, so they need to pay those insanely high interest rates that credit cards charge, right? So I started digging, and what I found was honestly shocking. And today I'm going to share what I learned with you. To start off, we're going to look at the state of the credit card industry as it is today. After that, we'll talk about how credit scores actually work. And finally, we'll discuss why credit card companies want people with high scores and if credit card companies should actually be targeting individuals with lower credit scores. But before we jump in, if you're interested in learning more about the world of business and personal finance, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video if you find it informative. So in 2020, credit card companies made $176 billion in income. The largest slice of that money pie was from interest fees, sitting at $76 billion. After that came interchange income at $51 billion. Interchange income is essentially transaction fees that the merchants have to pay whenever a customer uses a credit or debit card to make a purchase from their store. Depending on the card, these fees range between 1.4% and 3.25% of any given transaction. This is why sometimes you'll see food trucks or ma and pa shops that only take cash because accepting credit cards will cost them much more. Another $17 billion comes from cash advance fees, which I didn't even realize that people still did. If you get one thing out of this video, let it be this. Do not do cash advances with your credit card. You honestly might be better off borrowing from Tony Soprano. At least that way you'll get to hear some cool Italian phrases along the way. Anyways, they keep making money in other smaller ways too. $13 billion from annual fees, $12 billion from penalty fees, etc. So their current model seems to be working pretty well. But as we know,
life is good, but it can be better.
So to figure out if credit card companies could be making more money, let's take a look at how credit scores actually work. So there are 4 types of credit scores. However, for simplicity's sake, we're going to just look at the most predominant one, FICO. FICO scores are calculated using 5 main different pieces of credit data in your credit report. This data is grouped into 5 different categories: payment history, amounts owed, length of credit history, new credit, and credit mix. First, let's start with payment history. The first and most important category consists of whether you've paid past credit accounts on time or not. This helps lenders know how risky you actually are when they're extending credit to you. Remember this, it's going to become really important later. Second, amount owed. Generally, lenders prefer to stay away from someone that is near maxing out their available credit. It's recommended to stay under 30% credit utilization to maximize your credit score. If you're able to stay under 10%, that's even better. It's pretty risky to extend credit to someone who has maxed out their cards, so credit card companies try to avoid this. But it's also super annoying when you're relatively new in the credit card game and you have a low credit max, but that's neither here nor there. Third, length of credit history. Now, if you don't have long credit history, that doesn't mean your credit score is shot, but having a longer history is generally better for your score. So the FICO score takes into account the following: how long your credit accounts have been established, including the age of your oldest account, the age of your newest account, and the average age of all of your accounts. So here's a hack to help your future children. The day they're born, don't put a silver spoon in their mouth, stuff a credit card in there. You can put your children as young as infants as authorized users on your credit card. They don't have to actually buy anything, but by being users on your card, they'll get the benefits of a long credit history, so long as you're using your credit card responsibly. You may not think that this is a big deal, but it really is. Take this example. My friend recently applied for a Costco credit card, and she's plenty responsible. But she got rejected because instead of using a credit card to pay for little things like gas and food throughout high school, her parents had her get a debit card, and thus it wasn't building her credit. Whereas when I applied for a Costco credit card, they saw that my name had been on a card for a really long time, even though I really didn't spend that much on those cards. I literally just got gas with it. And so I easily got it. Spending 15 minutes to set up a card for your kid will really help them get ahead in life as far as credit is concerned. A quick caveat here, credit card companies also consider how long it has been since you used a certain account. For this reason, you should still be spending at least $5 or $10 on every credit card you have open. If you stop spending on them, you'll get penalized. But if you close them, you'll also get penalized. Fourth, next up is your credit mix. This means that FICO scores will consider your mix of credit cards, retail accounts, installment loans, finance company accounts, and mortgage loans. If you're like me and most other people and you don't have a lot of these, don't freak out. You don't have to have each and every one of them for a good credit score. This is one of the smallest categories, and if you excel in all the other areas, you'll be just fine. Fifth, new credit. When you get a new credit card, car loan, mortgage, or whatever, they do what's called a hard credit inquiry. Now there's also a soft credit inquiry, which is essentially them just glancing at your credit. On the other hand, a hard credit inquiry is when they shout from the rooftops, "I am going to look at this woman's credit." And then they do. Why do they do the different versions? Well, supposedly, hard credit checks are meant to protect people from themselves. Because if you try to get too many credit cards at once, the hard credit inquiries are going to stop you. So now we understand credit card companies and how they make money, plus we understand how credit scores actually work. So now we can finally answer the question, why don't credit card companies target people with low credit scores? As always, the devil is in the details. Remember that first part of your FICO score worth 35%? Turns out that with payment history, FICO, Experian, and all of these other credit report companies don't actually care if you make the full payment on time. It only matters if you make the minimum payment on time. So someone could have a really high credit score and still be way behind on their credit card payments. And credit cards absolutely love users like this. Because if you just make the minimum payment, not only does interest start to accrue on the rest of the payment, but also interest immediately starts to accrue on every other purchase you make until you paid off the balance in full. This makes logical sense, right? If someone has a low score, that means they often aren't even making the minimum payment. And this loss of money will wipe out a lot of the profit that credit card companies get in other avenues. And that's why credit card companies still target high credit score individuals. And while you were at it, you learned how credit scores work too. Remember, credit cards can be a useful tool or they can wreck you worse than FTX. Make sure you always pay off your balance in full and not treat it like free money, because it's not. If you're wondering which credit card is the best to go for, make sure to check out this video on my channel, or you can watch this one too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.